This fellow is really dumb like a pig. Listening to how Fei Qingping allowed 3 moves so arrogantly during the match, Wang Yuan, who was in the audience, gnashed his teeth in anger. These past few days, he warned that fellow countless times to not let down his guard. And yet, the result was that his strength indeed increased, but his habit of taking the enemy lightly surfaced once again. Wang Yuan was different from Fei Qingping. He also looked down greatly on Ye Yuan, but if he were the one up there, he definitely would not say something like "allow you 3 moves." Instead, he would beat down Ye Yuan with full power. Lu Ruoshui, who was by the side, covered her mouth as she laughed and said, "Don't get mad, senior apprentice brother Wan. Fei Qingping might be a little arrogant, but right now he does have the capital to be arrogant. 5th level Essence G realm versus 3rd level Essence G realm. No matter how you look at it, he wouldn't lose, don't you think? Even if he allows 3 moves, it has no bearing on the overall situation." Since Lu Ruoshui already said all that, Wang Yuan did not feel it was nice to go into it seriously. But in his mind, he was thinking that after they return, he would definitely show him some colors. "I've incurred junior apprentice Sister Liu's ridicule. It's just that this is a death match. Fei Qingping shouldn't be so careless. But I don't think that Ye Yuan would be able to do anything." Wang Yuan shook his head and smiled. "That's obvious. Senior apprentice brother Wan spent the past few days to help with junior apprentice brother Fei's bitter closed seclusion training. Furthermore, he has an overwhelming advantage in terms of cultivation realm. Nothing is going to happen." What's funny is that just now, Ye Yuan was still showing off as if so many senior apprentice brothers' Essence G pills were already his. Looking at this point, he isn't any different from the past Ye Yuan. Lu Ruoshui's words carried a faint enmity as she replied, "Oh, that's true now that you mentioned it. Perhaps I was overly cautious. But this way, it does seem more like Ye Yuan's personality." After Ruoshui said that, Wang Yuan also came around. Thinking back to Ye Yuan's actions just now, it was like how he used to act recklessly and blindly in the past. But this was going to be the last time. In the arena, a middle-aged man dressed in black walked in step by step. He was the instructor who was hosting this death match, Huan Yang. Huan Yang glanced at the 2 people without any emotion. It was as if not at all caring the slightest about this death match. "Since the 2 of you are here, the death match will begin now. In a death match, each person is responsible for their own life and death. Begin." Finishing his words, Huan Yang directly left. Presently, Ye Yuan was wearing a white martial outfit, standing there with a somewhat valiant and heroic bearing. Except that this valiant and heroic appearance did not match his strength, leaving everyone with an inexpressible strange feeling. "Hey, you said 3 moves. After I hit you, you mustn't retaliate." Ye Yuan suddenly grinned and exclaimed. Fei Qingping smiled coldly. "Just relying on you. Hee hee. Won't you know after trying? Here I come." Right after he finished talking, Ye Yuan's figure already arrived in front of Fei Qingping. Stacking waves layered palm, first layer wave. Smash. Fei Qingping's body flew out like a cannonball, crashing heavily onto the ground. Silence. Dead silence. Everyone looked at Ye Yuan standing in the arena with an unbelievable expression, not knowing what happened just now. No, to be exact, they could not believe the truth that they just witnessed with their own eyes. How could he be so fast? Stacking waves layered palm. He really mastered it. How is this possible? Just now, that was stacking waves layered palm. On the secret viewing platform, Zhou Bagui's laid-back attitude already disappeared from his face, and what replaced it was astonishment. It sounded like he was asking Long Tang, and at the same time as if he was talking to himself. Shocked was written all over Long Tang's face, but he still replied, "That's right. It's stacking waves layered palm, first layer wave." But didn't he only train for 3 days? Zhou Bagui felt that his brain was a little insufficient to process this. 3 days to learn stacking waves layered palm, first layer wave. Could it be that this Ye Yuan's talent was even more monstrous than this Long Tang in front of him? But even if Ye Yuan was more monstrous than Long Tang, it could not be to the extent of learning it in 3 days. Right? Long Tang used a month, and yet Ye Yuan only used 3 days. The time that Long Tang took was actually 10 times of Ye Yuan's. Isn't it too demoralizing? Long Tang didn't know what happened either. But among Danwu Academy students, nobody was more familiar with this martial technique than him. What Ye Yuan used just now was the authentic first layer wave. If this was Ye Yuan's first time looking at the jade piece, it means he really mastered it in 3 days. Long Tang's words revealed mixed feelings. Zhou Bagui clearly became aware of that point as well and asked, "Do you mean that he trained in it before? This time around, it's just to deceive the public?" If it's like that, then it makes sense. The more Zhou Bagui thought about it, the more he felt that it was the case. That trademark smile once again appeared on his face, except it was still a little forced. "That's what I said. How can there be someone even more monstrous than you? Furthermore, it's monstrous to such an extent." Long Tang shook his head and said calmly, "I didn't say that. It's just an assumption. In reality, I'm more inclined to believe that this was his first time seeing that jade piece." Zhou Bagui was speechless. In the arena, a trace of light flashed across Huanyang's eyes, whose expression had been indifferent all this while. He was similarly shocked by Ye Yuan's strike, but what he was astonished by was not the stacking waves layered palm, but Ye Yuan's movement technique. Previously, Ye Yuan revealed instant flash, so everyone was not a stranger to it. But everyone's understanding of him remained at the large success stage. But the instant flash that Ye Yuan displayed just now was undoubtedly at the great circle stage. What Ye Yuan executed just now did not leave any after images. Hence, he deceived every student's eyes and ears. After image was a mark of mastering instant flash to the great circle stage. But it did not mean that a great success stage of instant flash will definitely leave after images. Ingenuity in varying tactics depends on mother wit. That was the true meaning of a martial technique at the great circle stage. Coincidentally, back in those days, Huanyang also spent a great deal of effort on instant flash. He was one of the few people who trained this technique to the great circle stage. Although he went on to practice higher-ranking movement techniques, he was still most familiar with instant flash. Yet, just now, he clearly felt that the instant flash Ye Yuan executed was somewhat different. It was just that he could not say how exactly was it different. But without any doubt, Ye Yuan's understanding of this technique was beyond his. This punk isn't simple. Huanyang, who was originally indifferent towards this death match, started to feel a faint anticipation now. That fool. I already told him not to underestimate the enemy. Looking at the arena, Wang Yuan gnashed his teeth angrily. Wang Yuan never thought that Ye Yuan actually managed to master the stacking waves layered palm. Just what on earth happened on this guy's body? Just 3 days. Something that senior apprentice brother Long Tang only accomplished using 1 month, Ye Yuan actually managed to use only 3 days. Was this really still the Ye Yuan I know? Don't worry, senior apprentice brother Wang. Junior apprentice brother Fei only underestimated the enemy for a moment. Even if Ye Yuan mastered stacking waves layered palm, first layer wave, he can't win against junior apprentice brother Fei. Luruo Shui remained fully confident. Wang Yuan nodded his head. He obviously knew that this strike was not unable to cause Fei Qingping any actual harm. Underestimated the enemy. Even if he didn't take the enemy lightly, he probably also couldn't avoid that strike just now, right? Huanyang was not far from Wang Yuan and heard Luruo Shui and their conversation, giving this evaluation in his heart. Hey, have you laid down long enough? There are still 2 more moves which you allowed me. You aren't going to go back on your words, are you? Ye Yuan clapped his hands together with a face that said it cannot be helped. Cough, cough, cough. Fei Qingping had not caught his breath even after so long. That palm strike just now hit him right in the chest to the point where he could not catch his breath. Were it not for the fact that he gathered essence energy to form a shield at the last moment, he would have failed miserably at this simple mission. 4th level Essence G realm was much stronger than 3rd level Essence G realm. It was not just because the essence energy was much thicker, but also because after the 4th level Essence G realm, one would be able to materialize an essence energy shield. This greatly increased one's self-defense power. The damage from a 3rd level Essence G realm's attack, after being neutralized by an essence energy shield, will significantly be reduced in power. Li little bastard. Fei Qingping held his chest as he struggled to stand up. Just as he managed to steady himself, Ye Yuan palm came again. Smash. Fei Qingping was sent flying once more, rolling on the ground far away. You're really asking for a beating. Try scolding again if you got the guts. Ye Yuan stopped smiling and said coldly. Cough, cough. So what if I scold you? Li little bass dash. Smash. Before he even managed to complete his sentence, Ye Yuan's palm once again imprinted onto Fei Qingping's chest. I admire your guts. Come, carry on scolding. Ye Yuan's words became frostier. Cough, cough. 3 moves are over, prepare to die. Little bas dash. Smash. Yet another palm. Only, this palm struck the face. Even though it was weakened by the essence energy shield, Fei Qingping's face started to swell slightly. Little dash. Smash. 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 Ye Yuan landed one palm after another on Fei Qingping's face. Fei Qingping stood up again and again but was sent flying each time. As long as he stood up, a palm would come whizzing, leaving him no time to start scolding. It was said that when hitting someone, do not hit the face. Yet, Ye Yuan deliberately hit Fei Qingping's face. After over a dozen palms landed, Fei Qingping's face already swelled up like a pig's head. Even if his parents were here, they probably would not be able to recognize their own son. Currently, Fei Qingping was howling in his heart. Each time he made a great effort to stand up, wanting to retaliate, Ye Yuan would appear before his eyes without waiting for him to react. Right now, he discovered that the Ye Yuan he always looked down upon had indeed possessed the strength to threaten him. Everybody looked on dumbfounded at the scene of Ye Yuan continuously striking one palm after the other. Each time Ye Yuan struck, their hearts would jump involuntarily as if that palm was slapping their faces. Stretching out to touch their faces, why was it that they found their faces a little hot? Wang Yuan did not say a word, but his face was already completely black. How was this about Ye Yuan slapping Fei Qingping's face? He was clearly slapping Wang Yuan's face. There were so many people present here who did not know that Fei Qingping was his lackey. In his heart, he had already scolded Fei Qingping countless times, but that was not of any help at all to the current situation in the combat arena. Wang Yuan did not possess Huanyang's judgment. Even now, he still stubbornly believed that Ye Yuan had the initiative because of those 3 moves, and Ye Yuan could beat Fei Qingping until this state because Fei Qingping was taken unaware. Thinking back to how Fei Qingping promised to allow Ye Yuan 3 moves right from the start, it became a complete joke now. It had already been over 10 moves, and Fei Qingping had not even counterattacked. Fei Qingping, are you a pig? Quickly, use the lesser capturing hand. Wang Yuan could not sit idly by any longer and then shouted out loud. Murmuring. Following Wang Yuan's cry, the hundreds of people in the audience all looked over in his direction. It seemed to have caught Ye Yuan's attention as well. He looked over and ceased his violent rhythmic beating of Fei Qingping. Shut up. This is a death match. Who permitted you to shout? Huanyang turned around and looked frostily at Wan Yuan. A powerful pressure belonging to the spirit condensation realm came forth, crushing Wan Yuan until his breathing almost stopped. Teacher Huan, does his action count as breaking the academy's rules? Ye Yuan asked calmly. Huanyang also had a headache. Even though Wan Yuan was an Earth rank student, his potential was quite high. Additionally, with his father, Wan Donghai's network, he could not be too harsh on him. However, what Wan Yuan did was indeed a transgression. A death match prohibited anyone from interrupting the duel. Wan Yuan's interference had clearly disrupted Ye Yuan's momentum. Now, if Ye Yuan was to hold on to this point and not let things go, under everyone's watchful eyes, Huanyang really did not know how to handle things. Of course it counts. Even though it might be troublesome, Huanyang could not deny this in front of so many people. Currently, many people's gaze towards Wan Yuan became filled with contempt. Anyone could tell that he intentionally interrupted Ye Yuan's momentum. That, according to the Academy's rules, how should he be punished for his actions? Just now, I had the full advantage, but after that shout, I'm afraid that I will be beaten by Fei Qingping later. I don't want to look like a pighead. Teacher Huan, you have to stand up for me, the weak party. Ye Yuan said innocently. This. Huanyang was exasperated and cursed endlessly in his heart. Other people might not be able to tell, but how could he not see it? Even when interrupted, there was no way that Pighead could even touch the corner of Ye Yuan's sleeves. It had nothing to do with the overall situation. Yet, Ye Yuan deliberately pretended to be the weak party right now in order to gain everyone's sympathy. This made it even harder for him to find a way out of this situation whether he punished Wan Yuan or not. As expected, when Ye Yuan's voice died down, a wave of murmuring sounded off at the grandstand. Everyone understood what he meant. Ye Yuan was already 2 minor cultivation realms lower than Fei Qingping right from the start and was at an absolute disadvantage. Fei Qingping himself threw away his initiative, which finally balanced out the initially tilted scale. If Ye Yuan were beaten to death by Fei Qingping right after coming up, there would absolutely be no one who would pity him. But now that Ye Yuan finally saw the hope of victory, and yet was despicably interrupted by Wan Yuan, everybody could not help but pity him. Even though many among them wagered against Ye Yuan. However, everybody was clear in their hearts that even though Ye Yuan was the one beating violently, in reality, it was all superficial wounds to Fei Qingping, unable to give him any serious injuries. Stacking Wave's layered palm was indeed powerful, but the first layer wave was not able to compensate for the difference in cultivation realm. If Fei Qingping were only at the 3rd level Essence G realm, then even if he had 10 lives, he would be thoroughly dead. If Fei Qingping was at the 4th level Essence G realm, perhaps Ye Yuan might just have that glimmer of hope to finish him off. But at the 5th level Essence G realm, nobody felt that Ye Yuan could really kill Fei Qingping. That was the reality of it. Just as Huanyang was caught in the dilemma, Fei Qingping finally took the opportunity to stand up, albeit in an unstable manner. However, he was already confused and disoriented right now. He was utterly unable to figure out the directions. Fei Qingping saw a blurry figure, pointed at him, and shouted angrily, Ye Yuan, I'm going to kill you. Ha 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 ha. Hundreds of people took a look at Fei Qingping's funny appearance and burst into laughter. The laughter made Fei Qingping's eardrums quake in pain. Fei Qingping did not understand why everyone was laughing at him, but when he saw clearly who he was pointing at, he immediately broke out in a cold sweat. The person in front of him gradually became clearer. He was pointing to none other than the currently livid Huanyang. Wan Yuan disrupted the death match. In accordance with the Academy's rules, he will go and receive 100 whippings himself after the duel. Wan Yuan, leave the combat arena right now. Huanyang had been an instructor for so many years, but never had he lost face like he did today. Whipping was a form of punishment frequently used on students. This whip punishment was naturally different from the mortal's whipping punishment. It was carried out using a low-grade spirit artifact. Each whip will scatter the student's protective essence energy, causing bone-piercing pain. The average student who committed a mistake would receive around 30 to 50 whips. After that, they basically had to lie on a bed for 10 days. Now that Wang Yuan had to receive 100 whips, he would not be able to walk for at least 20 days no matter what. Wang Yuan also knew that he had incurred public wrath, so he did not dare to talk back to Huan Yang. Glaringly fiercely at Ye Yuan, he said, "Humph. In a while, we will come and collect your corpse." Ye Yuan did not show any weaknesses and said loudly, "Many thanks then. But I think you better collect the corpse of your family's dog. I won't see you off." Finishing by drawing aggro, Ye Yuan sent Wang Yuan off with a wave of his hands. If it was not a death match, Wang Yuan wished he could immediately rush down and tear Ye Yuan apart. After Wang Yuan left, Huan Yang announced with a scowl, "Death match resumes." Currently, Fei Qingping had already recovered. There was hatred in his eyes as if he wanted to tear Ye Yuan apart alive. "Ye Yuan, you despicable man. To actually use such a contemptible method to execute sneak attacks on me." Fei Qingping gnashed his teeth in hatred. Ye Yuan stared at him like he was an idiot. "Hey, you were the one who said that you will allow me 3 moves. Now you turn around and blame me for being despicable? Did you really become a pig's head? Little bastard. You are dead." Fei Qingping was practically foamy at the mouth from anger and started cursing again. As his voice fell, Ye Yuan's figure once again executed instant flash, appearing in front of Fei Qingping. Smash! Fei Qingping was sent flying once again. This time around, the audience on the grandstand finally noticed something wrong. If previously, Fei Qingping were sent flying because he underestimated the enemy right at the start, then what about now? Fei Qingping could not possibly be unprepared when facing Ye Yuan in his towering rage. Yet, he was still sent flying with a single palm by Ye Yuan. Those with a good judgment already discovered that this time around, even though Fei Qingping was prepared to counterattack, he was still slower by half a beat. Is instant flash supposed to be this quick? Zhou Bagui felt that there were too many things happening today that overturned his understanding. Long Tang looked at him and said, "Looks like we were both wrong." Ye Yuan's instant flash had already reached the Great Circle stage. Zhou Bagui sucked in a cold breath involuntarily. "Siave. Great Circle stage. Do you also know instant flash?" Long Tang seemed to know what Zhou Bagui was asking, so he nodded his head and said, "I still cannot find the crux to step into the Great Circle realm." Zhou Bagui muttered, "This Ye Yuan is truly monstrous. Looks like in the future, we will have another terrifying opponent." Hearing Zhou Bagui's words, Long Tang's face did not become grim, but instead, it overflowed with fighting intent. If he can rise up, he would be a pretty good opponent. Long Tang's domineering air continued to soar as if he had already been lonely in the Danwu Academy for too long. Zhou Bagui rolled his eyes and said, "You are indeed a sicko. Even though I don't know what happened to Ye Yuan, most likely he can't cause any threat to you. After all, your cultivation realm is much higher than his. It may not necessarily be so. Don't tell me you still believe that Ye Yuan rising 2 minor cultivation realms in a row was the result of his father pulling the shoot to help it grow." Zhou Bagui shook his head and said, "Even though I don't know how he did it, he is definitely not those sort of 3rd level Essence G realm with superficial foundation. From the start until now, he had continuously used over a dozen instant flashes and stacking wave-layered palms. All these no longer support the principle where his foundation is superficial. But looking at him, he doesn't seem to be under strain. Instead, he seems to be doing it with ease. But the question is, how does he do it?" Since the start of the duel, Zhou Bagui felt that there were too many mysteries on Ye Yuan's body. Many of the things that happened with Ye Yuan surpassed his understanding. However, Zhou Bagui did not treat Ye Yuan as an opponent, because Ye Yuan's realm was too low. The accumulation of essence energy was a drawn-out process. No matter how talented someone was, this process cannot be made up for within a short period of time. Zhou Bagui was older than Ye Yuan by 2 whole years. If he were a mediocre person like Fei Qingping, then there was nothing strange about being caught up by Ye Yuan. However, Zhou Bagui himself was a genius among geniuses, the number 2 figure on the martial roll of honor. He had his own pride. By the time Ye Yuan reached his current strength, he would definitely have taken another huge step forward. Looks like there are plenty of secrets on Ye Yuan. I have a feeling that before long, he will become a formidable adversary for us, Long Tang said. Currently, Ye Yuan was looking at Fei Qingping, who was on the ground. He said coldly, "I don't care how you scold me, but if you scold my parents, I won't stand for it. If you have the guts, try scolding another sentence. The next time I strike, it will no longer be light." Fei Qingping struggled up from the ground, shook his pig head, and gave a hideous smile. "Ha ha ha. Just relying on you. So what if you manage to learn the stacking waves layered palm? It's just the first layer wave. Even if I let you hit me, can you even kill me? Once your essence energy is fully exhausted, you are dead. So what if I scold you? Little bastard. Little bastard. Little bastard. Come on. Come hit me." This time, Fei Qingping was wiser. As he spoke, he was already on full alert and secretly revolved essence energy in preparation to use the lesser capturing hand at any time. He also knew that he could not compete in movement technique with Ye Yuan no matter what, so he simply went on the defensive. As long as he thoroughly exhausted Ye Yuan's essence energy, the latter would be dead. However, this time around, Ye Yuan did not seem to have the intention of striking immediately. Instead, he looked at Fei Qingping and started smiling. Except, this smile revealed an icy intent, making the students on the grandstand shuddered involuntarily. Huan Yang narrowed his eyes. He knew that Ye Yuan really became angry. The next attack would definitely fall like a thunderbolt. It was just that he could not imagine just how Ye Yuan would make up for the difference in cultivation realm. Clearly, the stacking waves layered palm, first layer wave, had no use. Could it be that Ye Yuan still has a trump card that he has not used? Huan Yang began to faintly look forward to it. The Ye Yuan today had brought too many surprises for him. Ha ha. Very good. You really have balls. I'm coming. You better prepare your lesser capturing hand properly. Ye Yuan was full of smiles and even took special care to remind Fei Qingping. The next instant, Fei Qingping discovered that Ye Yuan's figure slowly started to blur. Immediately, he detected something was wrong, and lesser capturing hand was executed without any hesitation in an attempt to slow Ye Yuan's figure. Yet, all of these were futile. Ye Yuan's figure once again appeared in front of him, and a palm was struck out immediately, almost the same as before. Stacking waves layered palm, second layer wave. Fei Qingping's body flew out like a kite with a broken string. Pawork. The instant he landed, Fei Qingping vomited a large mouthful of blood. It was clear that he suffered heavy internal injuries. Second layer wave. He mastered the second layer wave. How is that possible? It's only been 3 days. Zhou Bagui could not believe his eyes. This scene was just too shocking. Although the attack power only increased by 4 times, the cultivation difficulty was not just an increment of 4 times. Long Tang once estimated previously that in order to master the second layer wave, he would need to spend at least 3 months. Was this fellow Ye Yuan still a human? Although Long Tang, who was by the side, never spoke, the shock in his heart was no less than Zhou Bagui's. Mastering second layer wave in 3 days. This was something that he did not even dare to imagine. Just what on earth happened to Ye Yuan, making him so monstrous? Ye Yuan could not be bothered with other people's astonishment and slowly walked in front of Fei Qingping. You said that I can't kill you. Who do you think you are? You are nothing but a dog of Wan Yuan, Ye Yuan said coolly. Fei Qingping wanted to say something but vomited another mouthful of blood instead. A first layer wave was 2 times the power, and a second layer wave was 4 times the power. Using Ye Yuan's abundant essence energy to unleash 4 times the power, Fei Qingping's essence energy shield was no longer sufficient. That palm just now directly shattered Fei Qingping's essence energy shield and made an imprint on his chest. Ye Yuan did not hold back his attack at all, directly shattering Fei Qingping's internal organs and snapping his heart meridian. With regards to Fei Qingping, Ye Yuan had long sentenced him to death in his heart. His predecessor died because of Fei Qingping. Ye Yuan inherited this body, so he naturally could feel his predecessor's resentment before dying. Now that he killed Fei Qingping, Ye Yuan can be considered to have taken revenge for his predecessor. Cough, cough, cough. Ye Yuan, even if I become a ghost, I won't let you off. Fei Qingping struggled to stand up to no avail. Ha ha. Then I will make sure that you can't even become a ghost. Ye Yuan followed up with another palm, thoroughly ending Fei Qingping's life. From the start to the end, Fei Qingping never even made a single move. On the grandstand, everyone was completely dumbstruck looking at the Ye Yuan in the combat arena. This 10,000 years last place gave them too many surprises today. Killing a 5th level Essence G realm as a 3rd level Essence G realm. Instant flash at the Great Circle stage. Stacking waves layered palm, 2nd layer wave. Any one of these things could shake Danwu Academy, but all 3 things happened on Ye Yuan alone. Death match, Fei Qingping died. Ye Yuan wins. Huanyang finally recovered from his shock and announced the results of the death match. Ye Yuan bowed towards Huanyang and said, "You've worked hard, teacher Huan." Ye Yuan bowed deeply towards the grandstand and said with a face full of gratitude, "Many thanks to all senior apprentice brothers and sisters for supporting. To actually know this junior apprentice brother, I am lacking Essence G pills for cultivation. It makes me overwhelmed by this favor. I hope that all senior apprentice brothers and sisters will pay back the debt and not let junior apprentice brother, I, go and look for you. That wouldn't look very nice." The audience, who were initially still immersed in the shock, were now full of resentment and contempt. Isn't this Ye Yuan's appearance when he is eating too ugly? This was a threat. A blatant threat. Ha ha. This Ye Yuan is interesting. With the large mountain Yehang behind his back, how could he be lacking in these sort of things like Essence G pills? Zhou Bagui could not hold back his laughter when he saw Ye Yuan's sordid merchant-like appearance. This trip wasn't wasted. "Let's go," Long Tang said nonchalantly. He. Wasn't wasted, wasn't wasted. Looks like Danwu Academy will be fun in the future. Ye Yuan. If I don't tear you to shreds, I can't get rid of the hatred in my heart. Wan Yuan laid on the bed with horrific whip marks visible on his back. Wan Yuan received the news of Fei Qingping being killed by Ye Yuan at the first moment. Immediately, the hatred in his heart surged to the skies. He still had to go and receive his whip punishment under the sword of circumstance. This made his hatred towards Ye Yuan reach the absolute limit. 100 whips later, Wan Yuan's skin was split, and his flesh all torn up. He fainted straight away on the spot. At this time, Wan Yuan's deep family background revealed itself. He had consumed 2 high-grade great returning pills, and the injuries on his body were quickly suppressed. Coupled with some external wound medicines, it would take at most 7 or 8 days before Wan Yuan would be as good as new. It was just that although physical injuries healed easily, the emotional wounds were heavy. No matter what, Fei Qingping and he grew up playing together. Although they were master and servant in name, in reality, they were as close as real brothers. Wan Yuan never expected that Ye Yuan would improve at such an amazing speed, to actually kill the 5th level Essence G realm Fei Qingping as a 3rd level Essence G realm. If he knew this beforehand, then he would not have sent Fei Qingping to his death like that. Just as Wang Yuan was wallowing in his hatred, Lu Ruoshui slowly walked in, as graceful and attractive as before. "Senior apprentice brother Wang, please restrain your grief. To think that Ye Yuan was such a despicable person who planned such a trap for junior apprentice brother Fei to fall into. He is so devious." Lu Ruoshui just happened to reveal a sorrowful expression, making her look pitiable and delicate. Wang Yuan could not get up, but he was very touched by the fact that Lu Ruoshui came to visit him at this time. "Many thanks, junior apprentice sister Lu. I was definitely careless. My father fought with Ye Heng for so many years, and I have also fought with Ye Yuan for so many years. All these while, I had always thought that I understood him very well, so I felt that he was a good for nothing. But I never expected him to have hidden his ability this deep," Wang Yuan said hatefully. Lu Ruoshui said, "Yeah, we misjudged. To think he was actually pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger all this while. I reckon that the poisoning incident previously thoroughly infuriated him. That's why he decided to meet that scheme with his own, luring junior apprentice brother Fei to get hooked by the bait." Wang Yuan gritted his teeth and said, "Yeah, Yuan. You and I, one of us must die. Furthermore, he is advancing too quickly. I can't let him continue to grow." It was clear that through this death match, Wang Yuan had already deeply felt the pressure. The strength that Ye Yuan displayed was too dazzling. Even though he might be a genius that was being heavily groomed by the Danwu Academy, he was certain that he could not train the stacking waves layered palm to such a degree after examining himself. If he gave Ye Yuan a little more time, he might actually really be able to threaten him. Stacking waves layered palm, second layer wave, and great circle stage instant flash. If he let Ye Yuan grow unchecked, he will soon no longer be his match. Wang Yuan obviously did not know that Ye Yuan had already finished off someone on his level, the assassin Zhou Ying. If it were a death match, Ye Yuan could already kill him. Lu Ruoshui wholeheartedly agreed with this. That's right. Ye Yuan is too devious, and he also has ulterior motives. Senior apprentice brother Wan had better find a way to quickly deal with him. Lu Ruoshui no longer had any choice. Right now, she and Wang Yuan were like grasshoppers on the same string. She had plotted against Ye Yuan before, so Ye Yuan would not let her go. That was why she came over to urge Wang Yuan to quickly deal with Ye Yuan. But the academy doesn't permit students to take action privately. Otherwise, they will be punished severely. Wang Yuan frowned as he said this. In reality, even if Wang Yuan was to personally take action right now, he did not have much assurance that he could kill Ye Yuan. That great circle stage instant flash placed him in a virtually undefeatable position. Did you two forget that the endless trials will start 1 month from now? Suddenly, a voice appeared, making Wang Yuan and Lu Ruoshui jumped in fright. It's Senior Apprentice Brother Su. Apologies, Senior Apprentice Brother Su. Wang Yuan is injured, so it's inconvenient to greet you. Wang Yuan's face was full of apologies. The one who came was precisely Su Yishan, an extraordinary top 10 figure on the martial roll of honor. Lu Ruoshui naturally did not dare to slight him either. She got up gracefully and greeted, I've seen Senior Apprentice Brother Su. Su Yishan gave her a faint look but did not express anything. Without any care, he sat down by the side as if this was his home. The Danwu Academy was a place that advocated talent and strength. If one had the strength, then nobody would dare to say anything even if he was somewhat arrogant. If one did not, then he could only be stepped underfoot by others. In the past, Ye Yuan was the 10,000 years last place, so there had never been anyone who looked up to him. But now that he soared up to the skies in one move, everyone would naturally take him seriously. Senior Apprentice Brother Su, just now you said the endless trials. That's right. Why didn't I think of it? Wang Yuan became excited and pushed with his hand, agitating his wounds. Immediately, his face contorted in agony. By the side, Luruo Shui's eyes also lit up. It was clear that she also understood Su Yishan's intentions. That's right, the endless trials. The endless forest is naturally the ideal location to deal with Ye Yuan, Su Yishan commented calmly. The endless trials was actually a hunting exercise for the Danwu Academy students to temper themselves. There were countless demonic beasts inside the endless forest. So it was naturally the ideal location to temper the students. Of course, these sort of tempering would often be accompanied by injuries and death. In the past trials, many genius students ended up in the bellies of demonic beasts. The Danwu Academy was never a utopia. This place was even crueler than the outside world. The weak was destined to be eliminated. It was a world where the strong ruled. The Danwu Academy provided geniuses with a relatively safe environment for competition. But a greenhouse could never nurture a true powerhouse. Without the baptism of fresh blood, these geniuses would never mature. There were all sorts of conflicts in the academy. These conflicts had to have a release point, and that release point was precisely the endless trials. The grudges that could not be settled within the academy could be dealt with during the endless trials. Although the academy would repeatedly emphasize that they were not allowed to make a move on their companions during the endless trials, in reality, the academy tacitly approved of students utilizing this opportunity to settle their grudges. Senior apprentice brother Su indeed has broad horizons, to have already chosen a burial ground for Ye Yuan, Luruo Shui praised. Su Yishan gave Luruo Shui a contemplating look, and she blushed bashfully, making her appear highly bewitching. Luruo Shui did not have a good family background. She was born from a small family's concubine and enjoyed extremely few resources since young. However, her talent was pretty good, reaching 4th level Essence G realm at 14 years old. This was how she got recruited by the Danwu Academy. If she had not entered the Danwu Academy, Luruo Shui would have long been sent out as a gift by her family. She was full of hatred towards the Lu family. She hoped that one day, she could return to smack the faces of those elders to let them see that even without the support of the family, she, Luruo Shui, could still rise above others. Yet, after entering the Danwu Academy, Luruo Shui realized just how many incredibly talented people there were. She felt that her talent was not inferior to these geniuses, but that her background limited her growth. What Luruo Shui lacked the most was resources, so she would try every means to hang around men just so she could obtain enough cultivation resources. Luruo Shui possessed a naturally attractive body and was the dual cultivation partner that all men dreamed of having. This was also her most significant capital, so she used this capital to walk among men, hoping to find a large tree to climb up. Big shots like Su Yishan would not even fancy Luruo Shui, and Luruo Shui understood that even if they took a liking to her, she would only end up as their plaything. So Luruo Shui set her sights on those geniuses who had yet to mature, and that person was Wang Yuan. In reality, Luruo Shui had also considered Ye Yuan before, because Ye Yuan was easier to control than Wang Yuan. Looking at their background, these two people were actually roughly the same. But in terms of future, Wang Yuan left Ye Yuan several streets behind. Wang Yuan was full of schemes, possessed strength, and even had an alchemy grandmaster for a father. There was no better choice than him. Furthermore, Wang Yuan did not disappoint her and was currently already deeply in love with her. Luruo Shui had also just advanced to Earth rank not long ago and did not have much contact with the sort of extraordinary genius like Su Yishan. However, just this one glance made Luruo Shui feel like he stripped her clothes off, making her very uncomfortable. Junior apprentice sister Lu isn't bad. After that contemplating smile, Su Yishan only said a sentence lightly, not understanding what he was trying to express either. After that, he no longer bothered with Luruo Shui and carried talking with Wang Yuan. At that time, I will cooperate with you to eliminate Ye Yuan. After losing his son, Yehang would definitely lose his composure. At that time, our two families will join hands, and we can pull the fragrant medicine pavilion up by the roots. If Yehang attacks first, I believe the imperial family can't say anything about it. Hearing Su Yishan's words, Wang Yuan's gaze became sharp, and he said excitedly, "Senior apprentice brother Su will personally take action?" "That's great. Honestly speaking, with Ye Yuan's great circle stage instant flash, even if I use my full strength, I might not be able to keep him there. With senior apprentice brother Su personally moving out, there will be no escape for Ye Yuan as time." Lu Ruoshui felt a little chill in her heart. Su Yishan's methods are terrifying. She and Wang Yuan were only thinking of how to deal with Ye Yuan, but Su Yishan already included the entire fragrant medicine pavilion into his scheme. Su family's primary source of income similarly was through medicinal herbs and pills. They had deep connections with the drunken star manor, so the two families were always on good terms. Su family was the largest medicinal herbs provider in the state of Qin. In most cases, Su family only provided the medicinal herbs and did not interfere with the refinement or sale of medicinal pills. But who knew what channels Yehang went through, to not go through the Su family for all of his medicinal herbs? This naturally made the Su family hate Yehang. In the capital, the fragrant medicine pavilion and the drunken star manor were like two tigers who could not tolerate the other's existence on the same mountain. The two families had fought for so many years, and the imperial family had already given tacit consent to this delicate balance. But the Su family strongly disliked the existence of fragrant medicine pavilion, because the latter occupied a considerable share of the medicinal pills market, which also meant that the Su family's profits were reduced by quite a bit. But one had to acknowledge that Yehang was remarkable in terms of businesses and operations. The fragrant medicine pavilion's prices were fair, and they had never bullied customers with their power. Their prestige among the demonic beast hunters was very good. The Su family and the Wan family had created obstacles both openly and in the shadows countless times, and yet, they had never dealt any real damage to the fragrant medicine pavilion. Su Yishan wanted to use Ye Yuan as the pivotal point to pull the fragrant medicine pavilion up by its roots. To be able to devise such a setup and also be so scheming at such a young age, one had to acknowledge that Su Yishan was an outlaw-like figure. After Su Yishan left, Lu Ruoshui's eyes were sparkling as she said, "Congratulations, senior apprentice brother Wan. With senior apprentice brother Su's help, Ye Yuan is definitely dead this time. Not only Ye Yuan, but your Lord Father's thorn in the eye can also be removed this time as well." Wang Yuan did not have Lu Ruoshui's excitement, as if he was a completely different person from just now when Su Yishan was here. Senior apprentice brother Su is feeling threatened. Sucking in a deep breath, Wang Yuan said in a low voice, "You are saying, Ye Yuan?" Lu Ruoshui was also an intelligent person. Now that Wang Yuan said this, she immediately understood, but she was frightened by this thought. To the Academy students, those in the martial roll of honors and alchemy roll of honors top 10 were all figures that they had to look up to. An extraordinary genius like him actually felt threatened by a third-level Essence G realm? It was too inconceivable. At Ye Yuan's abode, Lu Er stared at her young master fiddling with Essence G pills that filled up the house. Ye Yuan retrieved 6 Essence G pills and placed them separately at the 6 corners of a pre-drawn hexagon array. Slightly injecting some essence energy, the array immediately gave off a faint white light, and the 6 Essence G pills actually started to melt slowly, converging at the center of the hexagon array. After a while, the light faded, and the liquefied pills started to reform again at the center. It actually reformed into a single medicinal pill. The reformed medicinal pill, just from the luster of it, one could clearly tell that it was much stronger than the original high-grade Essence G pills. "Young master, is this a transcendent grade Essence G pill?" Lu Er grew up in the Ye family since young, and naturally was not a stranger to medicinal pills. High-grade Essence G pills were relatively common but transcendent grade. If Yang performed exceptionally well, then it would be pretty good to have one of these in a furnace of medicinal pills. But now, Yuan casually used 6 high-grade Essence G pills to actually conjure out a transcendent-grade Essence G pill like magic. It was too miraculous. Yuan took the medicinal pill and placed it in a medicine bottle, saying, "Not bad. This is called 6 Astral Array, an array specialized in extracting and refining low-level medicinal pills." Lu Yar found it all very mystical and praised in admiration, "Young master, you are too amazing." The next day after the duel, Yuan had a medicinal theory lesson. The medicinal theory lesson's teacher was Feng Ruoqing, the youngest teacher in the entire Danwu Academy. She was also a ridiculously beautiful teacher with countless pursuers. Feng Ruoqing's medicinal theory classes were always fully packed. Even if the other instructors whipped their horses, they also could not catch up. Furthermore, every student would be thoroughly engrossed and kept their gaze fixed on Feng Ruoqing. The initially dry and boring medicinal theory class even appeared to be interesting. However, Yuan did not seem to have too much enthusiasm for it. Currently, he was snoring away. Yesterday night, he expended a tremendous amount of essence energy to extract and refine transcendent-grade Essence G pills and was currently completely exhausted. Every high-tier alchemist was also an array master. Someone at the alchemy emperor level like Yuan naturally was not an exception. High-tier medicinal pills required the inscription of arrays in order to attain the best medicinal effects. Hence, array formations were compulsory lessons for high-tier alchemists. Although the 6 Astral Array was not some high-tier array, extracting and refining tens of thousands of Essence G pills still drained Yuan completely. Even so, Yuan still had yet not finished extracting and refining. Tonight will be another long night, so how could he not catch up on his sleep? By the time all of the pills were extracted and refined completely, Yuan would have several thousand of transcendent-grade Essence G pills. This amount would definitely shock anyone. The difference between transcendent-grade Essence G pills and high-grade Essence G pills was basically that there were prices, but no sellers. How could something that even alchemy grandmasters could refine only when they were lucky to circulate freely on the market? The moment a medicinal pill reached the transcendent grade, there would be a qualitative change. With regards to medicinal efficacy, a transcendent-grade Essence G pill was already no longer inferior to a low-grade explosive UN pill. Furthermore, transcendent-grade Essence G pills had no side effects at all. Even if one used it all the way to the 9th level Essence G realm, their body would not develop any resistance to it. Of course, the prerequisite was that one had to have a lot of transcendent-grade Essence G pills in the first place. Who would dare to eat transcendent-grade Essence G pills like jelly beans? Except for Yuan. Although the explosive UN pill might be good, firstly, its tier was a little high. Secondly, with Yuan's current strength, he could not guarantee that every pill refined will be high-grade or superior grade, let alone transcendent grade. Even though explosive UN pill used only tier 1 ingredients, it was still much more expensive than Essence G pill. Even Yang would not be able to provide it endlessly. Under these circumstances, transcendent-grade Essence G pills were without a doubt the most suitable medicinal pills for Yuan. However, even though transcendent-grade Essence G pills were good, it was so damn tiring. The 7-star lotus's attribute is water, and it is a yin attribute. Commonly found within a spirit lake, it's suitable for refining. Feng Ruoqing threw the Herbal Essentials book on the table, as her words continued to flow easily. Clearly, she already knew all these medicinal herbs' attributes like the back of her hand. Feng Ruoqing was young and already a middle-rank alchemy master. This made many seniors perspire in embarrassment. One had to know that even though Master Jian employed by the Fragrant Medicine Pavilion was a high-rank alchemy master, his age was even greater than Feng Ruoqing by half a 60-year cycle. That was the disparity in talent. Feng Ruoqing walked lightly while talking about the subject with great familiarity, and the student's gaze swayed along with her body. All of a sudden, Feng Ruoqing frowned lightly and stopped the lesson. Everybody could tell that Feng Ruoqing was unhappy. Everyone followed her gaze, only see someone bent over the desk fast asleep, while drool was coming out of his mouth. In a moment, many scornful eyes shot towards Ye Yuan. How could there be someone who was so daring as to sleep during Teacher Feng's class? So offensive to a beauty. However, Ye Yuan was currently in dreamland, and could not feel everyone's eyes filled with enmity. Feng Ruoqing lifted her hand and casually shot out 2 wind blades. Kaka. The table legs broke into 2, and the table fell to the ground with a crash. The area under Ye Yuan's hands became empty space, and he was stunned awake, nearly falling to the ground. Fortunately, his movement technique was already at the acme of perfection, so he managed to stabilize his figure. What happened? Ye Yuan obviously still was not aware of the situation. But he immediately discovered something was off, because all the students were staring at him, and the beautiful teacher in front of him had a fierce expression. He quickly realized what happened. Ha ha. Teacher Feng, you know this, I just experienced a death match yesterday, and I exhausted too much essence energy. I still haven't recovered after one night, so I couldn't help myself from falling asleep. Ha ha. Ye Yuan tried to laugh and smoke his way through. Feng Ruoqing did not recognize Ye Yuan, but she had indeed heard about the death match yesterday that caused a huge commotion. Hearing what Ye Yuan said, Feng Ruoqing's expression became slightly better. But Feng Ruoqing felt that behavior like sleeping during class should not be tolerated. You are that Ye Yuan? Ha ha. I'm that Ye Yuan. Don't be cheeky during the lesson. Ah. Yes, Teacher Feng is right. I will be serious. And if it's because of the death match, then it's still understandable. Ye Yuan thought that this was over, but who knew that Feng Ruoqing would change the subject? However, in the Danwu Academy, the alchemy path is as equally important as the martial path. Medicinal theory class is also the foundation of alchemy deo. Someone like you who sleeps in class is delaying your future. Ye Yuan apologized with sincerity. Teacher Feng, I was wrong. I won't sleep during your lesson ever again. Humph. Not just my lesson, you are not allowed to sleep in all lessons. Go back and copy the herbal essentials 10 times. I will check during the next lesson, Feng Ruoqing said lightly. 10 times? Ye Yuan was stunned. The Herbal Essentials was a simplified version of the herbal compendium written by an alchemy sovereign of his generation, Li Shizhen. It covered a systemic overview of all sorts of medicinal herbs. Although it's a simplified version, it was still a very thick book. Copying it 10 times was too horrifying. Ye Yuan had some impression of the name Li Shizhen. He came to apprentice himself to his father, xianxia. Back then, King Yunzi happened to be at the scene. That punk, after I return to the divine realm, I will definitely show him some colors. I should teach him what shouldn't be written, to actually write such a thick book. Since he already wrote such a thick book, then forget it. But there were so many things inside that were incorrect. Wasn't this harming others? That's right, 10 times. Any complaints? Feng Ruoqing felt that she absolutely could not tolerate this matter, so as to serve as a warning to others. Yes, I have. Ye Yuan cried out. Ye Yuan's words stunned Feng Ruoqing, along with all the other students. In the students' opinion, being punished by Teacher Feng, who was as beautiful as a heavenly fairy, was something wonderful. Why would there be any complaints? The way Feng Ruoqing saw it, this was the first time that she was rebuffed in the academy. Furthermore, it was a man. Moreover, he was even a student. The things inside here are so simple. Isn't copying it a waste of time? If there's time, then it's better off to just refine 2 furnaces of medicinal pills. Ye Yuan refused to give in. Right now, Ye Yuan's time was very precious. He did not want to waste it on these trivial matters. What a joke! Was there anyone who understood medicinal theories better than him in this world? Even if Li Shijian personally came back, he would not even be fit to carry his shoes. Simple. Ha ha. Feng Ruoqing was so angered by Yayuan that she started laughing. Herbal essentials was not only one of the compulsory lessons for an alchemist but also a highly profound course. Even if alchemy kings were to come, they would not dare say that this course was simple. Yet, this brat who was not even an alchemy apprentice actually said it was easy. Within the Danwu Academy, Feng Ruoqing had always been in existence who everyone looked up to. The reason why she taught medicinal theory was naturally that her attainments in medicinal theory were very high. But even the current Feng Ruoqing did not dare to say that she had a thorough grasp on the herbal essentials, let alone its full version, Herbal Compendium. That was the syllabus that even an alchemy king needed to devote all his attention to study. And now, this punk in front of her who was not even an alchemy apprentice actually said that herbal essentials was simple. This was simply humiliating all her years of hard work. Yayuan did not seem to hear the meaning inside Feng Ruoqing's words and casually said, "Yeah, it's too simple. The person who wrote the book didn't observe and study properly." Everyone was gloating over Yayuan's misfortune currently. They wanted to see just how Teacher Feng would punish this fool. Many among them were cheated out of Essence G pills by Yayuan. Now that they saw Yayuan being beaten, they naturally welcomed it. During the death match, the shock that Yayuan gave them was too great, making them feel that the current Yayuan was no longer the man he was. But looking at things today, Yayuan was indeed still that Yayuan of the past. Ignorant and fearless. Good. Good. Feng Ruoqing said too good in a row. It was clear that she was extremely angry. I want to see just how herbal essentials is easy. I will ask a question. If you can answer it, then in future medicinal theory classes, you can sleep however you like. But, if you can't answer, I want you to copy the herbal essentials 100 times. The way other people saw it, Yayuan was definitely dead. Even though Yayuan's combat prowess was abnormally strong now, he was not even an alchemy apprentice. So how could he possibly answer the questions from the middle-tier alchemy master, Teacher Feng? But Yayuan himself let out a sigh of relief. Answering questions were much better. He did not want to copy that stupid herbal essentials 10 times. In terms of medicinal theory, who dared to compete with him? That's great. Teacher Feng, please ask your question. Looking at how impatient Yayuan was, Feng Ruoqing was incensed and thought to herself that he would cry later. Feng Ruoqing pulled a long face and said, "What medicinal herbs are used in refining qi returning pill? What are the steps involved in the refinement?" Feng Ruoqing asked this in a single breath and stared coldly at Yayuan. The other students also stared at Yayuan, gloating at his misfortune. They knew that Yayuan was definitely going to make a fool of himself. A qi returning pill was a high-grade tier 1 medicinal pill, something that martial artists used to recover their essence energy. Refining it required at least the power of a high-tier alchemy apprentice. To the Yayuan who was not even an alchemy apprentice, it was absolutely a highly challenging question. Among the students, there were only a few who could refine this sort of medicinal pill. Since nobody could refine it, there would obviously be no one who would pay attention to the pill formula of the qi returning pill, let alone paying any attention to its theory and points to take note of. Hence, nobody thought that Yayuan could answer the question. Yayuan touched his chin and said, "Oh, qi returning pill? Simple. The core ingredients are the jade toad's inner core and crimson sun sword-toothed flower. The secondary ingredients are 4 seasons azure, wind-tail grass, sky southern star, and etc. One has to pay some attention to the procedure. Separate the secondary ingredients into 2 portions to temper, one of it with jade toad's inner core, and the other with crimson sun sword-toothed flower, in order to extract 2 portions of the medicinal essence. Then, refine it in the furnace at the same time, and finally, merge it into one. After Ye Yuan said finished, everybody started laughing. They did not know the pill formula, but this refinement technique was complete rubbish. Splitting the ingredients into 2 portions, then extracting and refining 2 portions of the medicinal essence, and finally into the furnace. How does one control it? And also, how would one merge it? This sort of refinement technique was unheard of. One could only say that this Ye Yuan knew nothing about it and was trying to hoodwink Feng Ruoqing. To dare play tricks on Teacher Feng, this fellow was going to suffer for it. 100 times, oh, 100 times. Who asked you to scam our Essence G pills? You deserved it. After a series of laughter, everyone still did not hear Teacher Feng's exasperated reprimanding. Looking again, Teacher Feng's face showed a thoughtful expression. Everyone could not help but question the situation. Could it be that this fellow actually managed to fool Teacher Feng? Oh, you are saying yin-yang separation flow technique? Feng Ruoqing asked. Ye Yuan smiled and said, Teacher Feng is indeed well-read, to even know yin-yang separation flow technique. Ye Yuan did some research on the Danwu Academy's refinement techniques. This yin-yang separation flow technique was a rather obscure refinement technique which the average person would not know. Saying it was obscure was because it was too difficult to learn. The average person could not grasp it at all. Controlling 2 separate medicinal essences in a furnace of medicinal pills and not letting the 2 medicinal essences touch at all required one to split their focus. Furthermore, the control over essence energy had to be extremely even. The difficulty involved could not be imagined. It was impossible to control without going through severe training and being repeatedly tempered with experience. However, this was not even hard for Ye Yuan. Ye Yuan had perfect command over refinement techniques that were even 100 times, 1,000 times more complex. If one uses yin-yang separation flow technique, is it also appropriate for duocycle qi returning pill? The initially cold and prideful Feng Ruoqing looked like a student thirsting for knowledge currently, making everyone's glasses drop in shock. Could it be that Ye Yuan was also a genius in alchemy? The things that he said completely exceeded the understanding of all the students here. Of course, it's appropriate. It's just that the ingredients for the duocycle qi returning pill are a little more complex, and the refinement process is also a bit more complicated. But the principle still applies. Using the yin-yang separation flow technique is naturally fitting. Ye Yuan's words flowed with ease as if he was the teacher now, and the well-read Feng Ruoqing had become the student. Feng Ruoqing's eyes lit up, and she muttered to herself, "That's right. Why didn't I think of using the yin-yang separation flow technique?" A duocycle qi returning pill was a high-grade tier 2 medicinal pill. Currently, Feng Ruoqing was a middle-tier alchemy master. Her soul strength was between middle-tier alchemy master and high-tier alchemy master. Being slightly inadequate, the refinement was obviously very taxing. But this yin-yang separation flow technique could avoid the weakness of insufficient soul strength, as tempering 2 smaller portions of medicinal essence separately would be much easier than controlling 1 large portion of the medicinal essence. It was just that the requirement for an alchemist's control ability was too demanding. In addition, the yin-yang separation flow technique had another advantage, which was separating the core ingredients allowed their medicinal efficacy to be preserved to the highest degree, resulting in an even higher quality pill after refinement. If an alchemist was highly proficient in using the yin-yang separation flow technique, the quality of the medicinal pill that he refined would be higher than other alchemists of the same level. Having said that, conventional refinement techniques were already more than enough for alchemists to study. To also study an obscure technique like the yin-yang separation flow technique was simply asking for trouble. Hence, even though the yin-yang separation flow technique was powerful, little to nobody knew it. Teacher Feng, since I already answered, can I go back to sleep now? You just look at my table. Ye Yuan said with an innocent face. You. Feng Rocking never expected that this fellow was still concerned about his sleep right now. Her originally subsided wrath surged once again. Teacher Feng, you were the one who said it just now. If I could answer your question, then I can sleep however I want. Even though it isn't very polite, but I'm really very tired right now. Ye Yuan had a troubled face. Feng Rocking looked at Ye Yuan's pair of panda eyes and knew that Ye Yuan was not lying. But what did this fellow do yesterday? Even if he went through a death match yesterday, he should not be so tired today, right? Did I say anything? Feng Rocking blinked her eyes and gave every student a threatening glance, asking, did I say anything just now? Being unreasonable was the privilege of a woman, especially it was this unparalleled beauty, Teacher Feng Rocking. All the students were petrified, and many revealed embarrassed expressions. As said what? Didn't he say anything? That's right. How could Teacher Feng possibly say something like that? Ye Yuan was thoroughly defeated. Right now, the only thing he wanted to do was to sleep. Teacher Feng? Oh. It's not impossible to go back to sleep, but you have to promise me one thing. So it turns out the reason was here. But right now, let alone one thing, even 10 things will do. Good. I need a student to be my assistant. You will be my assistant. Everyone was petrified once more. Why did not such a wonderful chore happen to them? Whoosh. Executing instant flash, Ye Yuan was gone, leaving his voice echoing on the spot, no problem. Under the stunned eyes of all the students, Ye Yuan slipped away, leaving Feng Rocking looking somewhat bitter. However, Ye Yuan could not be bothered anymore. He was seriously too sleepy. How could he not catch up on sleep when he would have another fierce battle at night? As for becoming an assistant, Ye Yuan only casually agreed to it. At that moment, he did not have any choice. Feng Rocking was a genuine spirit condensation realm martial artist. If she did not let Ye Yuan go, then he would absolutely not be able to leave, even with his instant flash. Back at his residence, Ye Yuan slept all the way till dusk before waking up leisurely. Throwing a transcendent grade chi returning pill down his throat, plus the recovery rate while he was sleeping, essence energy in his body was quickly restored. This chi returning pill was refined before Ye Yuan set off, and it came quite handy now. After his essence energy was restored, Ye Yuan continued using the 6 astral array to refine transcendent grade essence chi pills. This was a colossal project. Tens of thousands of high-grade essence chi pills. Even if one refined 6 each time, it would make several thousand transcendent grade essence chi pills. And just like this, Ye Yuan slept during the day and refined pills during the night. At dusk 2 days later, Ye Yuan had just woken up and was about to refine the last batch of transcendent grade essence chi pills, when an unexpected guest arrived. It was the host of the death match, Huan Yang. Ye Yuan was called out by Louis R. He then blocked the entrance to the room in a weird manner to avoid Huan Yang from being able to peer inside. Ha ha. Hello, Teacher Huan. Are you looking for me for something? I still have some matters to attend to, so let's keep it short, shall we? Ye Yuan laughed and said to Huan Yang. Huan Yang was not someone who bothered with such trivialities and did not become angry at Ye Yuan's behavior. He asked curiously, since I'm here, you are not going to invite me in to have a seat. Ye Yuan stood vigilantly in front of the door without any intention of letting him in. If he were to let Huan Yang see that he could freely refine transcendent grade essence chi pills at that time, not only the Danwu Academy, the entire state of Qin would be in chaos. It's too messy inside. So it's better for Teacher Huan to not go in. After I clean up, I will invite Teacher Huan over to have a cup of tea another day. Ye Yuan tried to evade the question. Ye Yuan had heard before that Huan Yang was usually a little cold, but he was a very fair and honest man. So he was not afraid that he would barge in. Huanyang knew that Ye Yuan was clearly doing something fishy inside, but the residences of students were private after all. It would not be reasonable of him to barge in, so he gave up. All right then. I will await your invitation. Ye Yuan was only being polite, but he never expected that Huanyang would just follow up like that. Everyone said that Huanyang was infatuated with martial Dao and did not curry favor with anyone. Why was he so different today? I came to look for you because I wanted to tell you that with your current strength, you should be able to barely make it into black rank. So you can go take the advancement test already, Huanyang said his intention for visiting. In the Danwu Academy, what rank you were in was not determined by cultivation realm, but actual combat power. If a student felt that his power was sufficient, then he could undergo the advancement test at the illusionary spirit tower. The moment he passed, he would advance a rank. And Huanyang was the teacher in charge of the advancement test. In reality, many of the black rank students in the Danwu Academy got in through connections. Their potential was limited, so they belonged to the type where they just sit around doing nothing, waiting to die. The true elites were in Earth rank and above. Previously, Ye Yuan naturally also belonged to the type who just sat around waiting to die. Fei Keeping's strength was initially already outstanding among the black rank students. After rising to the 5th level xianxia realm, he already possessed the strength to take on the black rank test. However, if that were simply the case, Huanyang would not personally look for Ye Yuan to take the test. Challenging the illusionary spirit tower was a student's personal matter. He could not even be bothered to go and urge the students. During the death match, Huanyang developed a strong interest in Ye Yuan, this dark horse. Clearly, there were many secrets on Ye Yuan's body. Of course, this was not something amazing. Which accomplished person did not carry secrets on them? Martial Roll of Honors Rank 1, Long Tang, and Rank 2, Zhou Bagui. These people definitely all had their own lucky encounters. This was not something that the academy would be bothered with. What the academy needed were powerful students. Even though Ye Yuan was only at the 3rd level xianxia realm right now, he managed to kill the 5th level xianxia realm Fei Qingping during the death match. But most importantly, Huanyang felt that Ye Yuan did not go all out during the death match. He really wanted to see where Ye Yuan's limits were. The illusionary spirit tower test was naturally a good place to test Ye Yuan's true power. In the Danwu Academy, students would rush to take the test once their strength reached the standard for advancing. However, Huanyang heard that Ye Yuan spent the past few days sleeping during the lesson and did not seem to have any intention of participating in the test. Therefore, he personally came to look for Ye Yuan to take the test. Advancement test. All right, when can I join? Ye Yuan was stunned for a moment before readily accepting. These few days, Ye Yuan was only thinking of increasing his strength as soon as possible, which was why he forgot about joining the advancement test. Someone who did not incur the jealousy of others was a mediocre person. Ye Yuan was not afraid of showing off his abilities. Ye Yuan was an alchemy emperor previously and did not need to be overly cautious within this tiny Danwu Academy. He also wanted to see just where the current limits of his strength were. Ye Yuan's reply made Huanyang a little surprised. He thought that Ye Yuan had some difficult dilemma, which was why he did not rush to join the test. Any time will do, Huanyang said. All right. Then I will go over to the illusionary spirit tower tomorrow morning. Ye Yuan thought about it for a moment before replying. Huanyang nodded and turned to leave. Just a moment, Teacher Huan. Ye Yuan suddenly recalled a matter and called out to Huanyang. Anything else? I want to let my maidservant participate in the academy's entrance test. I wonder if Teacher Huan could arrange for it. Lu Yar had followed Ye Yuan into the Danwu Academy for quite a few days already. However, Ye Yuan was always busy these few days, so he was not free to help her settle down. Today, since he coincidentally met up with Huanyang, It did not seem like an unreasonable matter to ask him to arrange the test for her. According to the Academy's rules, students were not allowed to freely bring followers into the Academy no matter how powerful their background was. There was no issue for Luiar to stay a few days temporarily, but the Academy would definitely investigate after a while. That young lady just now, at such a young age and already at the 3rd level Essence G realm, I suppose she barely qualifies to participate in the test. All right, bring her along with you tomorrow. Huanyang nodded his head and said to Ye Yuan. With Huanyang's cultivation, he naturally could see Luiar's strength at a glance. Luiar was younger than Ye Yuan by 1 year. Being able to cultivate to 3rd level Essence G realm was barely passable. Huanyang obviously would not mind too much. However, who knows what his thoughts would be if he were to find out that it took less than a month for Luiar to cultivate essence energy to the 3rd level Essence G realm. In reality, even Ye Yuan was highly astonished by Luiar's cultivation speed. She used a single night to reach the 1st level Essence G realm, and after 5 days under the aid of Ye Yuan's explosive Yuan pill, she successfully broke through to the 2nd level Essence G realm. And yesterday, after consuming transcendent grade Essence G pills consecutively, Luiar broke through once more, reaching the 3rd level Essence G realm, almost catching up to Ye Yuan. If this sort of cultivation speed were spread out, it would be an absolutely astounding matter. Even though there was the aid of medicinal pills, Luiar's monstrous talent was even more important. In front of Luiar, all those so-called geniuses in the state of Qin were overshadowed by her. Obviously, there was also the heaven illusionary eye soul that Ye Yuan taught her. It was as if it were custom-made for Luiar, making her cultivate quite successfully with ease. Luiar was naturally gifted. These past few days, Ye Yuan taught her several suitable martial techniques. She quickly grasped them, as if she was born just for cultivation. Luiar's current strength was absolutely no weaker than the average 4th level Essence G realm. There should not be a problem to pass the entrance test. Both master and servant going to participate in the test together was something worth anticipating. After Ye Yuan successfully refined the last transcendent grade Essence G pill, he let out a long sigh of relief. These few days of refining had squeezed his essence energy dry over and over again, torturing him half dead. However, the hard work paid off. By constantly draining his essence energy, unknowingly, Ye Yuan's cultivation realm had thoroughly stabilized. Right now, he was only one step away from the 4th level Essence G realm. As long as the accumulation of essence energy was sufficient, Ye Yuan could break through to the 4th level Essence G realm at any time. What's left was naturally stuffing himself with pills. Hu. Finally done. Luiar, help me stand guard. I'm going to break through to the 4th level Essence G realm, Ye Yuan instructed Luiar. The last batch of pills left today weren't many, so Ye Yuan did not expend too much essence energy. After taking a qi returning pill and meditating for an hour, Ye Yuan recovered to his peak condition. Casually taking out 5 transcendent grade Essence G pills and throwing them into his mouth, Ye Yuan executed the Spirit Bristle 9 Yang Divine Art and started to impact through the 4th level Essence G realm. If it were some other 3rd level Essence G realm, they would definitely die due to the violent essence energy just from consuming 5 transcendent grade Essence G pills at once. However, Ye Yuan's Spirit Bristle 9 Yang Divine Art was just too powerful. The violent essence energy was currently as obedient as a lamb as it moved along Ye Yuan's meridians. It even appeared to lack the strength to carry on. Without thinking too much, Ye Yuan swallowed another 3 transcendent grade Essence G pills before the essence energy barely managed to reach the requirement. Ye Yuan revolved around his thick and abundant essence energy, impacting through the 4th level Essence G realm bottleneck. Unlike other people, he did not encounter a large resistance and surged forth like a current, slowly, yet powerfully. The 4th level Essence G realm. A bottleneck that would take several months, even a year for an ordinary person to break through, only took Ye Yuan 2 hours. However, Ye Yuan did not stop cultivating. He continued to swallow transcendent grade Essence G pills non-stop, only ceasing when he reached the peak of 4th level Essence G realm. Sensing essence energy that was several times thicker than when he was at the 3rd level Essence G realm, Ye Yuan shook his head instead. Still too weak. I wonder when I will have the strength to charge back to the divine realm. However, if I were to have a death match with Fei Qingping here once more, I can instantly kill him with only first layer wave. After a night of cultivation, the sun was already up, and it was almost time to go look for Huanyang. Ye Yuan had just advanced to the 4th level Essence G realm, so his fatigue was swept away long ago. Presently, Lu Er was also a cultivator. Meditating one night did not have much effect on her. Master and servant went to the illusionary spirit tower together. Huanyang had already been waiting there for a long time. "Hello, Teacher Huan." Ye Yuan brought Lu Er up and greeted him. Huanyang nodded and acknowledged him calmly. Huanyang instinctively swept his divine sense over Ye Yuan's body, and his initially cold face revealed a slight astonishment. "I didn't see you for one night, and you are already at the 4th level Essence G realm?" Huanyang asked in amazement. "Ha ha. Lucky, lucky," Ye Yuan laughed and said. Huanyang shook his head and said, "At first, other people said that your cultivation realm was forcefully raised by your father. But I knew that it wasn't the case after watching your death match. However, I never expected that you would advance a small stage, rising to the 4th level Essence G realm. In any case, I'm an alchemy grandmaster's son who mainly grew up eating medicinal pills. If I still can't reach 4th level Essence G realm at this age, I will be throwing my father's face," Ye Yuan said, his words being half genuine, half false. Huanyang nodded and did not say much, as if in silent agreement with what Ye Yuan said. "The test hasn't started yet. You two wait a while," Huanyang said. Clearly, it was not only Ye Yuan and Lu Er who were participating in the test. There were already over a dozen people waiting there. "All right, Teacher Huan." Ye Yuan didn't waste his breath and brought Lu Er to stand with that group of people. However, Ye Yuan's appearance caused a stir. Presently, he was too famous. Not only did he kill Fei Qingping, who was higher than him by 2 minor cultivation realms in a death match, but he also scammed thousands of Essence G pills from several hundred students. Even if they did not want to recognize him, they could not. "You guys, isn't that Ye Yuan over there? He also came to participate in the advancement test. What's so strange about it? That Fei Qingping already barely had strength close to the black rank. Since Ye Yuan could finish him off, isn't it very normal to join the advancement test? That makes sense. But for a 3rd level Essence G realm to join the black rank test, he can be considered exceptional. Don't be silly. Back then, wasn't Senior Apprentice Brother Long also at the 3rd level Essence G realm when he participated in the black rank test? No matter how powerful Ye Yuan is, can he be stronger than Senior Apprentice Brother Long? But his stacking waves layered palm was trained until the 2nd layer wave. Surely he's at least stronger than Senior Apprentice Brother Long in that aspect. Senior Apprentice Brother Long trained for a month before barely mastering the 1st layer wave. Tisk. He was just lucky that the martial technique suited him. How can he possibly compare with Senior Apprentice Brother Long? Then how do you explain his Great Circle stage instant flash? ETH. Look. Look at what? Making such a fuss. Ye Yuan seems to have broken through. Broken through what? He is already at 4th level Essence G realm. Heavens. Is this fellow still human? How many days has it only been since he advanced to the 3rd level Essence G realm? When these two people discovered that Ye Yuan broke through, their expressions were like they have seen a ghost. At this moment, others also clearly noticed that Ye Yuan broke through to the 4th level Essence G realm, and their eyes when looking at Ye Yuan became peculiar. "Ha ha! What's everyone looking at me for? I know I'm very handsome, but I don't swing that way. So don't look at me with that sort of expression, all right? Isn't it just breaking through to the 4th level Essence G realm? It's not like it's something major. All of you senior apprentice brothers have a higher cultivation realm than me, so can everybody stop being so amazed? Yuan was not uncomfortable with the attention and just brushed it off casually. Everybody was collectively made speechless. Was this fellow here to posture? Breaking through to the 4th level Essence G realm was the first threshold on the martial path. Who among them would not exercise extreme caution, spending large amounts of time to accumulate before breaking through? But Yuan only used a few days before crossing it. Now, he assumed a manner like it was too easy. He was really asking for a beating. Isn't it just breaking through to 4th level Essence G realm? What's there to be surprised about? No matter how he jumps around, isn't it just black rank? Even if he reached the black rank, he is still just trash. The discussion was broken by an arrogant voice filled with condescension. It's senior apprentice brother Lin Tiancheng. He is currently a student in the Earth rank, most likely to advance to the Heaven rank. I didn't expect him to also participate in this advancement test. Looks like he is almost certain that he can advance to Heaven rank this time. Very quickly, someone recognized the owner of the voice. Lin Tiancheng slowly walked with his hands behind his back in front of Yuan, bringing with him an overbearing pressure, and asked, "You are Yuan?" Yuan was not the slightest bit uncomfortable facing Lin Tiancheng's pressure and said calmly, "I don't know if the Yuan you are talking about is me, but I am indeed called Yuan." Humph. What a glib tongue. These few days, all I've been hearing are all sorts of clamoring about you. Today, I want to see if you really are as incredible as they say, Lin Tiancheng said with a face full of disdain. Is that so? I'm actually so famous now. To think that even senior apprentice brother Lin hear my name all the time. However, I think it's my first time hearing of senior apprentice brother Lin today. I wonder if senior apprentice brother Lin can advance to Heaven rank today. This junior apprentice brother, I wish that senior apprentice brother Lin won't stumble and fail. Yuan still had an exaggerated expression, but the words that came out of his mouth made everyone break into a sweat. This fellow seemed to be cursing Lin Tiancheng to fail. However, these words really struck Lin Tiancheng's soft spot. When people said that Lin Tiancheng was one of the strongest people in the Earth rank, they were not talking about how talented he was. In reality, this was already Lin Tiancheng's 4th time participating in the advancement test. Those in the same batch as him, even some students who were in the recent batch, many of them had already advanced to the Heaven rank. He was the strongest among the remaining few who had yet to advance. This was Lin Tiancheng's greatest shame. Hence, it was a taboo for others to mention this in front of him. Low-ranking students would take special care to avoid it. Whether it was a coincidence or not, Yuan's words struck Lin Tiancheng's soft spot. Lin Tiancheng's face visibly changed color. Glaring fiercely at Yuan, he said, "You have guts to actually talk like this to your senior apprentice brother. I think you are courting death." As he said this, Lin Tiancheng gathered his essence energy and smacked a palm towards Yuan. Smash! Yuan stood there without moving, but Lin Tiancheng flew backward instead. Rolling on the ground, Lin Tiancheng barely managed to stabilize his body, looking extremely ragged. "Which bastard ambushed me?" Lin Tiancheng bellowed angrily. The moment he said this, Lin Tiancheng saw that the surrounding people looked at him with odd expressions and was not sure what it meant. "Lin Tiancheng, you got the nerve to actually attack right in front of me." Huanyang's icy voice sounded out, making Lin Tiancheng shudder involuntarily. Facing Huanyang, how would Lin Tiancheng have the courage to resist? He broke into a cold sweat. To actually scold teacher Huan, a bastard, isn't that courting death? Huanyang was the person hosting the test. If he was to secretly play some tricks, Wouldn't he have to return in defeat? If Huanyang bore a grudge, then he can forget about advancing ranks for life. As sorry Teacher Huan. I didn't know it was you, Lin Tiancheng hurriedly apologized. Huanyang was expressionless as he said, the illusionary spirit tower is the place for advancement tests. You actually dared to take action without my permission? If you affect the other students' test, can you handle the responsibility? Teacher Huan, He ridiculed me with words on purpose to agitate me into making a move. Lin Tiancheng did not dare to offend Huanyang, so he naturally pushed the blame to Ye Yuan. Senior apprentice brother Lin, you can't slander good people. I was clearly wishing you success in your test, but I don't know how I provoked you to actually attack me. Could it be that senior apprentice brother Lin came here to participate in the illusionary spirit tower's test, but don't want to advance? Ye Yuan gave a perplexed face. Just now, Ye Yuan indeed told Lin Tiancheng to take care not to stumble and fail. It was impossible to find a problem with those words. Except, looking at that exaggerated expression, nobody would believe that he was wishing Lin Tiancheng well. The pitiful Lin Tiancheng still did not know that Ye Yuan came today to join the test today because Huanyang personally invited him. Without mentioning the fact that the matter was stirred up by Lin Tiancheng, even if he was in the right, it was impossible for Huanyang to stand on his side. I already saw what happened just now. From the start until the end, it was you who was doing all the mocking. Do you think that I, this examiner, am so easy to be deceived? Huanyang's voice became increasingly colder. No, stay here and don't move. Considering that it was your first infraction, I will overlook it. But, if you violate the rules again, I will revoke your assessment rights. Lin Tiancheng did not dare to talk back anymore and quietly went to wait by the side. After waiting for a while, students came one by one. After around 50 people were gathered, Huanyang once again appeared in front of everyone. Now that everyone is present, in a while, I will open up the restrictions. The illusionary spirit tower will automatically send you to the test site corresponding to your cultivation. Many of you had undergone the advancement test before, but it's the first time for a few of you, so I will briefly go through. Huanyang briefly summarized the important points about the illusionary spirit tower. Actually, he was explaining especially for Ye Yuan and Louis R. In this batch, apart from Ye Yuan and Louis R., everybody else had participated in the advancement test before. Forgetting about Louis R., Ye Yuan by right should have gone through the entrance test in the illusionary spirit tower before. But his predecessor was just too weak, and it was impossible for him to have passed the test in the illusionary spirit tower. Thus, Ye Hang pulled a lot of strings back then before managing to shove Ye Yuan in here. Therefore, he had never even gone to the illusionary spirit tower before. Feeling the layers of restrictions on the illusionary spirit tower, Ye Yuan praised and commented, so it's a 32 restriction spirit artifact. Tranquil Cloud Sect does indeed have some means. A 32 restriction spirit artifact naturally was not much in Ye Yuan's eyes. However, even though the spirit artifact's rank was not high, it had some unique features, making it suitable to being used for the students' advancement testing. This illusionary spirit tower seemed to have been specially developed by the Tranquil Cloud Sect for assessing student into ranks. There are a total of 5 regions, namely, Entry Advancement, Yellow Rank Advancement, Black Rank Advancement, Earth Rank Advancement, and Heaven Rank Advancement. The first 4 regions corresponded to the 4 student rankings in the Danwu Academy. Passing the Entry Advancement allows one to advance to the Yellow Rank. Passing the Yellow Rank Advancement allowed one to advance to the Black Rank, and so on. 1. Lastly, the Heaven Rank Advancement was what the Tranquil Cloud Sect used to determine if Heaven Rank students were qualified to enter the sect. It was a test for becoming Outer Sect disciples. Clearly, the difficulty of the 5 tests increased progressively. By the time it was the Black Rank Advancement test, The difficulty was already rather over the top. In reality, Lin Tianquan's talent was not bad. It was just that the Earth rank advancement test was truly too outrageous. That was why he failed repeatedly. There were many students like him among the Earth rank students. As for the Heaven rank advancement test, I really hope that one of you will be qualified to participate in that test during your student life here in the Danwu Academy, Huanyang told the students. Huanyang's words did not stir too much of a reaction from everyone. Clearly, they all knew just how terrifying the test was. What Huanyang said was qualified, and not to pass. That is to say that none of the people here would even get the chance to attempt the test before they graduate from the Danwu Academy at 20. One could only imagine the difficulty of that test. Most of the students here today were participating in the Black Rank Advancement Test, aka the test for a Black rank to advance to the Earth rank. A minority was participating in the Yellow Rank Advancement Test and the Earth Rank Advancement Test. Louis R. was the only person participating in the Entry Advancement Test. The first time you enter the Illusionary Spirit Tower, you can take part in multiple rank advancement tests, all the way until you get killed, or voluntarily withdraw. After passing a test, you will automatically be sent to the next test. There, you can make a decision if you want to undergo the next test or not. At that point, the Illusionary Spirit Tower will record the rank advancement test you are killed at. The next time you enter the Illusionary Spirit Tower, you will start anew from that rank. Alright, now enter the Illusionary Spirit Tower. Clearly, Huanyang's last few sentences were meant for Ye Yuan. Huanyang then walked in front of the Illusionary Spirit Tower's gate and gestured his hand up in a half-arc in front of him. Faint black essence energy was shot into the Illusionary Spirit Tower. Following that, the Illusionary Spirit Tower's gate slowly opened. The students participating in the test entered in an orderly manner. The moment they entered the gate, they vanished. It was clear that they were sent away by the Illusionary Spirit Tower. When it was Lin Tianquan's turn to go in, he shot a fierce glare at Ye Yuan. If you can't advance to the Earth rank, you will forever be trash. You are considered lucky today with Teacher Huan helping you. In the future, don't let me see you in the academy, otherwise, you are dead. After threatening Ye Yuan, Lin Tiancheng stepped forward and vanished instantly. Ye Yuan gave a laugh and did not take Lin Tianquan's warning to heart. He turned to Louis R and said, "Louis R, let's go in too."